Trump is defiant, Diddy is compliant.
This is a scam. There's a rigged trial. It shouldn't have been in that venue. We shouldn't have had that judge.
Hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video.
Thought it'd be interesting to compare and contrast the public travails of two of our most stars, reality stars, I guess you could call them. Donald Trump used The Apprentice to springboard himself in his mastery of controlling public perception to springboard himself into the presidency. And Diddy, of course, is a guy, you think of him as a music producer, but I don't think he really produces music.
He's a sleazebag. Everybody knows that.
He's an impresario that would put people in the studio, and then he would probably come in and say, you know, turn that hi-hat up so he would get his production credit. And never has been, or rarely has there been, two guys who've produced so little of importance or quality on their own, but who have made themselves very famous and are perceived as being successful for things other than just being famous, which is really what they're good at. Diddy is I guess, an old school narcissist. He's at least showing us the respect of playing the game, pretends to hang his head in shame for his hedonistic lifestyle. Frankly, that video that came out of him beating Cassie in the hallway, I mean, probably just drug addict behavior. I mean, not that it's okay, but perhaps he and Cassie were ending a 3-day bender, and Cassie might have been acting just as bad in the hotel room, or they, you know, and perhaps him and Cassie were low-lifing it up in the hotel room, and his malfeasance just happened to be caught on camera out in the hallway. And of course, he paid $50,000 to hide that tape for a long time. Nobody knows who leaked it to the press. He paid that hotel $50,000 for the hallway tape at the time. Who knows? They may have made a copy, as we saw with the R. Kelly case. When a famous person does something now, if there's video evidence, I mean, even if you pay somebody for it, who's to say they didn't keep a copy? But clearly he didn't get the only copy, because this has surfaced. And it's interesting that Donald Trump's convictions now all stem from kind of the same thing. Something to do with women. It's not saying it's anything RAPE, because it's not. But so if you don't know, Trump was convicted of 34 counts that all stem from he had a sexual dalliance with former adult star Stormy Daniels, and he worked with the head of the owner of the National Enquirer to do a deal where they would do what was called a catch and kill policy. He would provide the Enquirer with money. The Enquirer would tell people with damning stories about him, we want your story, sign the rights to us, and we'll pay you, but then they wouldn't run the story. The person gets paid, the story doesn't run. That's not illegal, but Trump was convicted of falsifying his tax documents. You can't write off or use campaign funds to pay a woman to not say she had sex with you in public. That's illegal, and he's now been convicted. But boy, Trump just will not concede anything. I guess he comes from the school of, which he learned from Roy Cohn, the lawyer. If you don't know who that is, look him up, of always be on the attack. So how dare anyone convict Trump? He's going to come out and say, he's talking like a toddler. This is rigged. I've never even heard a college graduate use the word rigged before. It's a rigged election. But he speaks the language of conspiracy theory, so it'll be very interesting. He seems to think that his conviction will energize those that feel he's getting a raw deal and that the legal system is rigged and blah, blah, blah. I mean, the legal system is rigged sometimes, but what's that got to do with him? Nothing. He still has his cases in 4 other states to face. We'll see how it goes. But both of those guys are big New York personalities. I'm sure they were in each other's orbit somewhat, a little bit at parties. Trump is now Well, he did it in the last election, attempting to use the black celebrity culture to get enough black people to not go out and vote for Biden and maybe pick up a few votes for himself. And it did work a little bit last time, him pardoning Lil Wayne and Kodak Black, both who said they didn't even vote after the fact. I think neither of them were even registered to vote. He let Lil Wayne out of prison early. Same thing with Kodak Black. Or he dropped Lil Wayne, I'm sorry. Lil Wayne got caught on the plane with the gun. He totally erased those charges. And Kodak Black, he let out of prison early. And a blatant appeal to, I don't know what, black people who think because he let a celebrity out of prison, they should vote for him. But it did siphon off a few votes. And most recently, if you didn't know, Trump was taking it a step further. He did a campaign rally with Chef G and Sleepy Hollow, who are currently under indictment for attempted murder and I think maybe actual homicide, but definitely attempted murder as part of a gang RICO in New York. Should you vote for Donald Trump because he has people charged with a RICO of killing black people who are out on bail at his campaign rally? Well, that's a decision for each voter to make. And speaking of RICOs, I will say this about Diddy's case. Why are people talking about him getting a RICO charge? I mean, RICO, racketeering, influence, corrupt organization. The RICO Act was created to go after sophisticated crime bosses, politicians. Jimmy Hoffa, the union leader, it was kind of crafted to go after. He was one of the people that were atop a big pyramid of complicated transactions, insulated from actual crimes by many layers of middlemen. But they sure do use it loosely, especially in New York. All you gotta do is read the New York papers, and there's an unending wave of gang RICO indictments, where you see young black and Hispanic males being let out of public housing projects, 100 people indicted in the Bronx, 120 in Brooklyn. And you would think, oh, they must have did something crazy. And you read the charges, and it's a lot of, possession of 20 grams of cocaine. This one person had a pistol. 2 people got shot. And you think, how did they give 120 people a RICO? There's never been a 120-man Gambino RICO. How is there a 100-man RICO for some teenage gang in the Bronx? So, again, Trump's brilliance, at least in managing public perception, in that sense, I mean, that's an example of the system is rigged, but it's not really rigged against wealthy white men, but it is rigged. So just like when he said crooked Hillary, I mean, probably all to rise to that, to being the president or being a politician in the U.S., probably have to do some things that would be considered crooked, which doesn't make it okay, but it doesn't really have anything to do with Trump. It's like you get caught molesting your neighbor's kid, and you tell the neighbor, well, your brother, the kid's uncle, molested him too. Well, that's besides the point. But so what will happen with Diddy and Trump? What are your guys' thoughts? I'd be interested to know what's the prediction. Who's going to come out better? Trump's not going to get any jail time, though. The chief witness against him, Michael Cohen, his former lawyer and the fixer in the Stormy Daniels case, served, I think, 18 months in federal prison, including a month in the hole, for his role in the exact crimes that Trump just got convicted of. I don't know why he got so much time. Kind of surprising, but will Trump get some jail time? Very hard to see how that would happen. I mean, all ex-presidents are entitled to Secret Service protection, so they'd have to put him in some wing by himself, and some Secret Service would have to be there. It's kind of pointless to say you're going to put him in jail. We'll see if it has any effect on his election prospects. Do people see him as a victim? Is Donald Trump a victim of injustice? Anytime I've made a post about Donald Trump, the Russian bots and the right-wing trolls certainly hit up my comment section. But like I said, I can tell a lot of them are bots. Diddy is just the next contestant on the pulling back the curtain of the degradation in entertainment industry that started with the Me Too movement. Though I'd still like, okay, so let's break down Puffy's potential. The worst thing is the 17-year-old girl from Detroit who claims him and Harve Pierre did what they did. Hard to know without reading the details of that. Is it plausible? I guess there's a picture of her sitting on his lap. That doesn't mean they did anything. If he did have sex with a 17-year-old and they can prove it, well, he's, as we saw with R. Kelly, he's in bad shape. But let's not compare him to R. Kelly, because R. Kelly was relieving himself on 12-year-old girls and videotaping it, which is, and R. Kelly has become sort of forgotten, persona non grata, which he should. But R. Kelly, for those of you not older, R. Kelly was a big, big deal. He was a #1 R&B person. I mean, everybody liked R. Kelly songs. They still sound good. Diddy's musical legacy, I mean, what really is it? He invented the remix. He had Biggie, but since Biggie, I mean, he said, well, Biggie died. Little Kim went to prison. Shine went to prison. Black Rob seems to have damaged himself with drugs and died. G-Dep walked into a police station and talked himself into a prison term. Who else? Oh, and Puffy's early in his career, before he really got the record deal going, he probably escaped. It seems like something worse than what he's even going through now. If you don't remember, he was doing a celebrity basketball game and he overbooked it, and nine people were trampled. And a lot of people thought his career was over then. He somehow dodged criminal charges. Kind of surprising in looking back, because I remember around that same time or not long after that, there was a concert of a heavy metal band in maybe Connecticut, and there was a fire and a lot of people, like maybe 100 people, and they gave them like 100 counts of manslaughter. Puffy got no charges from that, and then he got his deal from Andre Harrell. So what might be this RICO that people are saying Puffy is going to get? Well, there is a federal grand jury asking people questions about Puffy. So as degenerate or embarrassing as you might think the allegations that he would pay male sex workers to have sex with Cassie while he watched and they were doing drugs, certainly weird. I mean, not really a crime. I mean, it's certainly not a RICO crime. And if everybody in the entertainment industry that did drugs and called prostitutes got RICO'd, well, we wouldn't have an entertainment industry. But now he's become, Puffy has set himself up now to pin the conspiracy tail on the donkey, and the donkey is him. Now people, oh, did he have Biggie killed for his royalties? You have a lawyer coming out and saying Biggie was, behind the scenes, was fighting to get out of his contract with Puffy and was upset about the money he was getting. And then voila, he's bumped off and never been solved. If it was Suge Knight or Tupac's people or LA gang members, why hasn't it been solved? Because those are the alleys the LAPD look down. Of course, Keefe D's in custody, and he's claiming that Diddy, he claimed at one point that Diddy paid him. So that's an interesting nexus, Diddy and Keefe D. Is Keefe D testifying in front of the federal grand jury? Because Keefe D, back in 99 or something, when he got into some trouble for his PCP ring, he went to New York and wore a wire and tried to get Eric Von Zip to incriminate himself about giving him money to have Biggie bumped off, and the money being from Puffy. But Von Zip wouldn't talk. Now, that doesn't mean Von Zip's guilty and wouldn't talk. Maybe Von Zip didn't have anything to do with it. But Von Zip didn't say anything incriminating. But Keefe D sure likes to talk, and as we know, he's made statements. So if there's any truth to Keefe D having been offered money by Puffy, he's certainly telling it now. And what a bombshell that would be if Puffy got indicted for Tupac or Biggie's murder, or both of them. That would be wild. Not saying it's going to happen, but I'm sure that's what the subject of a lot of the grand jury investigation is. As far as human trafficking, I mean, taking your own girlfriend around to do degenerate stuff isn't human trafficking. I mean, she was of age and she was consenting and she was in a record deal and she was many places by herself. He may have pressured her and all that, but she certainly could have gotten away. Now, her excuse is she was kept under influence of drugs. Well, you know, I mean, she was an adult. So, not saying it's so, you know, whatever went on was good, but I don't know if that's criminal. It doesn't sound like it is. Beating up your girlfriend in a hallway of hotels, certainly, again, low-life activities, not really criminal. Well, I mean, it is, but it's not a RICO. I mean, it is criminal. It's not a RICO. Then, of course, people are now coming out to woodwork, that he was the one who shot the girl at that nightclub. I don't think that's true. I think a lot of people are jumping on trying to do a money grab. Though on the night of the case, he did do some funny stuff, but maybe he just didn't want to get in any trouble at all. If he had that gun in his hand and shot that girl in the face, I find it hard to believe nobody was a witness and said he did that. But again, he's opened himself up to this. As for the Donald, his troubles may be just beginning. I think one or two of these other things are going to come to a head before the election. I sure hope that that same pool of people that went to the Capitol on January 6th doesn't let him whip them into a frenzy. I mean, at the end of the day, listen, for all of you that think Trump's getting a raw deal, before you worry about him and the little conviction he got, then you would need to go question the convictions of everyone in America. If you're just gonna say, trial by jury, indictment by a grand jury of regular citizens, it's political and it's a rig up. No, go let everybody else out of prison too. So we have to have some type of rules in society. Trump doesn't want to follow any rules at all. He wants to just do what he wants. Diddy too, but at least Diddy's kind of, maybe it's just because he maybe comes from a background of that Southern church or something. Had to go to church when he was a kid and you pretend to be sad and contrite. I did find it strange, his old Brother Love act, which was very aggressive. He was like aggressively nice. And then, of course, the strange thing last Halloween where he's dressed up like the Joker and he got tough with the guy. Seemed like he was in a roid rage or something. I don't know. Cocaine and steroids is quite a combination and probably get you pretty riled up, I would imagine, which he seems to have been exhibiting some of that behavior sometimes, but that's just a guess on my part. So, two New York celebrities, one became a billionaire off liquor, one lied about being a billionaire to get a reality show. Trump was paid hundreds of millions in royalties from The Apprentice, which he used as interest payments primarily to keep his House of Cards real estate portfolio going, which is interesting. If it wasn't for The Apprentice, he'd have went totally bankrupt again. Remember, Trump went bankrupt twice. If it wasn't for him falsely presenting himself as a business mastermind in The Apprentice, he would have probably permanently went bankrupt and would have never ran for president. And Puffy adroitly used sort of early proto-reality shows like Making the Band and showing up at TRL for his own benefit. He wasn't trying to make no band with them people. He was keeping his face in the limelight because him and Donald Trump are both what? Addicted to attention, perhaps amongst other things in the case of Puffy. And they're certainly getting plenty of attention now. Trump is defiant. Diddy is compliant, at least in public. We'll see what the future holds. Al Prophet, American Dope, as the country burns.